Hello everyone! The achievement Secrets of Karesh has us pick up some books and notes scattered around the world. Article linked in the description if you need help finding them, as they do give reputation. Altogether a whole level of renown. Coins, an oath we exchange, is found in Tazavesh and writes about the relation of bartering, currency, and the oaths so sacred to Karesh. This dense ledger contains the foundational economic history by Azro Oka on the history of coins, debt, credits, and the philosophical underpinnings of the Kareshi monetary policy circa 238 before Dimensius. The idea that the coin replaced the practice of barter, a story often used to show progression from pre-Menusa civilization to our current modern multi-state economies, is entirely an invention of previous writers, has no basis in history or archaeology. This is not to say that the ancient Kareshi did not barter, but the story of an economic system based on trading a livestock animal for an equivalent amount of grain as an early form of economic system was just made up, giving no thought to the issues of valuation mismatch, standardization problems, and the varying inefficiencies and labor introduced into the process of determining value for this supposed process. Previous authors created this fiction out of whole cloth precisely because it was ridiculous. They wanted to portray our ancestors as foolish and ignorant, and our modern day systems as wise and natural. A coin is not the physical embodiment of livestock or grain. It is the embodiment of an oath. Putting aside the reverence of Karesh, and with apologies to my childhood instructor Oracle Bamush, I never did memorize those sacred poems, the coin is an element of our concept of the exchange because it combines two of the three elements. Many radical students may assert that a coin will always equate to death, but this is a treatise on economics, and I am only willing to go so far in my heresies. Setting religion aside, oaths tie us to promises we make to others in society, to our families and peers, and to other members of our community. As societies grow larger, keeping track of these sacred promises becomes difficult. This is not necessary for more personal or spiritual oaths. I need not inform the resident of Tazavesh that I have fulfilled my vow to take a daily constitutional to improve health. And a constitutional is apparently a regular walk to take for your health and well-being, often in the morning, or you do something daily for improvement of health. But as our societies grow larger and the web of obligations become more elaborate, the debts we owe or call in grow ever more complex to record. My long-winded ledgers may have values to scholars of the exchange, but little value to the farmer of grain or the rancher of livestock in the wilds. Does my oath to finish this very tome hold value to them? Is that equivalent to their oath to feed the community? How do we compare the value of such disparate oaths? Coin. It is the record of my oath to my publisher to put my thoughts in order and publish before the end of this calendar year, or the oath of the rancher that the meat of their livestock will be slaughtered, dressed and fresh in the market, or a technomancer's oath to bind the essence of flame within the rune slate so I can heat my tea in the afternoon. Different oaths, often abstract, but important and valuable not for their physical value, but because they fulfill the oaths we have made, the story of our professions, and contribute in some ways to the community at large. This is why oracles of Karesh view the coin in the same sacred category as death and rebirth. All of them are grand acts of transmutation. For those who hadn't caught on yet, oaths are incredibly important to the Kareshi. To break an oath means exile, or death, or even a practice pushed further as it could mean complete mind control. Oaths made to Karesh or their king, but perhaps their king was never worthy of their loyalty, as we read in From Vengeance to Void, found near the Mana Forge. The scroll text reads as follows: By Omuka, we view our inner self as static and unchanging. Who we are at our core is who we always were, and who we will always be. In some ways, this is necessary survival trait. We must contend with unfathomable loss of our world, our culture, and even the very substance of our bodies. Many Kareshi feel that if we lose our hold of a rigid definition of self, our bindings will fall away and we will disappear into untethered space. But it is a lie. We do change. How can we not? The circumstances of our existence have been radically altered, and we have been thrust into a cosmic existence where our day-to-day survival spans worlds, where we conduct trade and relations with beings of cosmic light and must contend with creatures of great evil and darkness. We have changed. We are as mutable in our outlook as we are in the energy that we tether to our souls. All this brings us to the topic of Nexus King Salhadaar, the king in exile, the king of the hunt, ruler of the Ethereum. He whose vengeance against Dimensius was so great it frightened us. The very same leader whose crimes were, as was revealed in the exposed ledger, to become void. He was not merely an agent of the void, but the one who led so many to its clutches. How could this same warrior who hunted the fragments of the all-devouring across the cosmos also be the one who founded the shadowguard in secret? How could the man who came to embody a righteous fury against the injustice of Dimensius also be the man that turned our survivors to servants of the all-devouring? When did he change his allegiance? What cosmic madness so afflicted him that we were unable to see his descent into villainy? These are the wrong questions. We should instead look inward at our worldviews that blinded us to the signs of what he was doing, or deaf to the warnings that others shouted about this man. A man that was widely considered a strong leader and one who would punish our enemies for us. In retrospect, his descent was all too clear, and had been for years. We are just unwilling to acknowledge that change is something that can affect an Ethereal, as if our reps that tethered our soul to this reality resist the passage of time or the effects of causality. There is another interpretation, a darker one. Perhaps the ethics and morals that define the self are stronger than I lay out. We are a resilient people. We might change how we react to the changing situations of our lives, especially as we are thrust into the unknown, but the core of who we are, our ethics and values, do not change. The nature of our souls are tethered and immovable. If that is the case, Salhadaar must have fallen to the void long before the all-devouring arrived, and we enabled this monster to lead us through the events that would define our people. We have all become the void. And I do wish that some of these questions would have been answered. Like, how did King Salhadaar return? How did they bring him back? We killed him on Outland, and now he just suddenly shows up again, and there's no clear reason given. They do make mention about the void and the souls being plucked from there with the Ethereals. Does that mean that Ethereals that are infused by the void end up in some sort of void land, where they can then be pulled out again? Does that mean that those that are allied to Arcane, do they end up in like Titanland, for example? Not really explained. Beyond that, the oath part also comes into play, and while in the game mechanic, the oaths by the king placed upon us, they can turn us into mind control slaves, that does not seem to be the thing for all Ethereals. In essence, it seems to be a cultural thing. You make a promise, you better keep to it. If you don't, it could lead to exile. Double oath breakers could see themselves being hunted down, like punishable by death, right? So that could be a thing. Except applying this to the Soulscribe, it becomes an interesting situation, because the Soulscribe in Locus-walker's story, when it comes to the Devouring War, she sides with the Nexus King. She stands at his side. When did that happen? When did he side with Dimensius? Did he tell her back then? We do not know. We know that the Soulscribe and the Oracles were all about Karesh. That was their original pledge. Like, for the safety of Karesh, for the sake of Karesh, they were the ones who communicated with the world so inside. But then the Devouring War happened, no more Karesh, and so they pledged themselves to their king. Now the king shows up again, and he is not shy about working with Dimensius, the thing that took Karesh from them. How come the Soul Scribe and the Oracles, aka the Wastelanders, how come they instantly flip around and serve the king again? It's not a mind control situation as far as I'm aware. Why would they choose the king over Karesh? And it's not like the story could not be explained, but it's not really explained. And these gaps I would have just loved to know. Especially with the consideration of the old lore. The old lore tells us that the Ethereals were the ones who summoned in Dimensius, and in Locus-walker's story, he is the one who trains himself in the ways of the void, he's the one who does research first. We now know that Xal'atath whispered to more of them, but it seems like Locus-walker was the one who brought in Dimensius. And then the ending of the story, it has the king blame Locus-walker and his allies for all their problems, for the Devouring War, yet the issue is, if Locus-walker truly brought in Dimensius, then the king wasn't wrong. And I would have loved to have seen, like, okay, what exactly brought Dimensius in? Because he is a Void Lord and is Harbinger and all that. But those questions are left to be answered. Maybe we'll still get like an epilogue after the raid. It could be that we'll see Karesh change. Maybe more Ethereals are going to show up now that the world has been saved. Fingers crossed, right? It could still be a thing going forward. Playable Ethereals would be very nice. And then we got one more scroll text to talk about. Because what does it mean for the Ethereals to become part of the Void? Well, we've got this one. I have become Void is a letter found in Tazavesh, impaled by a shadowguard's blade. Cyrez. I hate you. I hate you. Hate. Why are you still here? I told you to leave when I did. I told you why. The whispers. I never stopped hearing them. They are louder now. So loud. Why don't they stop? Just for a moment? What will stop this pain? This unending ache? I am terrible. All I do is make things worse. I am a terrible person. I should never have been born. You should thank me. I know how you feel about the shadowguards. I have joined them now, so they will feel as everything I have ever touched. I have left you, so you are better off and joined your enemy. They will feel you can hate me for the rest of your immortal days, but only if you leave this accursed city. I can't hold you, not for thousands of years. I see you every day, and you are covered in those reps. I have forgotten your face. I have forgotten my face. I am just a mask. Was I always a mask? What was ever me? Are you still you? Is the energy you? I don't think so. We died in the devouring. We must have. These things made of energy have replaced us. I was not arcane energy. How am I less me if I have become void? I am my true self. This was who I was before the war changed us. When you looked at me with disdain and we went through the motions of our lives and you didn't talk to me over meals. Then 100,000 years of your disappointment where I could never be good enough. I am so sorry. I don't mean these things I say to you. I just hurt. I thought the void would take away the pain, but it reminds me of it. It is a vast and empty chamber of my hurt and loneliness that echoes. In those echoes, I hear whispers of what I must do. I must do terrible things. Get away from Tazavesh. Travel back across the great dark beyond. The trust. They cannot be allowed to make things better. That is unnatural. Life only gets worse. I want to scream at them. This new mask they have placed on me has other ideas. We will rip them apart and make them feel as terrible as we do. The old devouring will come. Dimensius will bring an end to this world. To all worlds. I have become void. I will feel this way forever. It is what I deserve. Signed, Zatrui. And it's interesting to consider how the void actually manipulates and corrupts. Where Deathwing, for example, we read about the early days where the void was tearing him down, just like they're doing here. And then later the void started to whisper and trying to lift Deathwing up and tell him that he was the greatest ever. The void has many tricks up their sleeve in order to get what they need. And that is what it is to become void. These lore books have been a real treat. But for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. And until next time, see ya!